What's up folks, Mike for CMCC Builds here with a quick one this week as I work on the latest in the character build series. The character builds take forever to make, primarily because of the video capture and editing time. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, we're looking at around 4 hours of editing time per minute of screen time.
Holy hell!
That doesn't include research, writing, and recording time. That's why those builds are so infrequent and why it's super important to support the channel with likes and shares, or even joining my Patreon if you're so inclined.
Boring!
Alright, no one wants to hear about all that. Let's move on to more interesting topics like the value of the archery fighting style versus the dueling fighting style.
Oh, thank God.
If you like math and charts, this should be a good one for you. If you don't, well, strap in.
It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Maybe it's because I'm neck deep in optimization communities, but whenever those two fighting styles are spoken about, it seems to be assumed that archery is the better choice. The existence of the Sharpshooter feat and the ubiquity with which it's used makes that largely true, but what about in a world where Sharpshooter doesn't exist? At least not in the incarnation that it currently does with the -5+10 feature, like for example, the 1D&D version of the feat. So which fighting style contributes more to damage per attack? We're not using DPR here because damage in a single round fluctuates based on the number of attacks in that round, which complicates the analysis unnecessarily. For the purposes of this analysis, we're going to look at a base +5 to hit, which is what a character would have at level 1 with a +3 modifier. We'll start by looking at base damage using a D8 weapon, longbow, longsword, rapier, or any other of your choosing, and we'll chart the damage from armor class 5 all the way to armor class 30 for each scenario. Here, we have the damage per attack with that D8 weapon and the standard +5 to hit and +3 damage without any fighting style. Be conscious of the flat lines you see on the left and the right of these charts. Flat lines on the left side mean hitting with every roll besides a nat 1, and flat lines to the right mean a miss on every roll besides a nat 20. That line will shift to the right one step for each +1 to the attack roll. As we can see here, adding the archery fighting style, a +2 to attack rolls, shifts that line over exactly 2 armor class. So that flat line on the left side extends from AC of 7 to an AC of 9, and the flat line on the right, where a nat 20 is needed to hit, shifts from a 25 AC to a 27 AC. Because of that shift, damage with the archery fighting style increases throughout each intermediary armor class. It kind of goes without saying you increase your chance to hit by 10 percentage points, and of course your damage will go up on nearly every roll.
Yeah.
But to the question of the day, how does dueling compare? Surprisingly, at least to me, well, it's not until armor class 19 that the archery fighting style deals more damage per attack. And remember, for each +1 that you add to the base +5 to hit number that we're using, you shift the lines one notch to the right. So with a +6 base attack bonus, archery doesn't catch up until AC 20. A +7, it catches up at a 21 AC, and so on. So what does this tell us? Well, without any additional modifiers in the form of damage or attack boosts, dueling is the better fighting style. But of course, this is not the world we live in or the game we play. Boosts do exist, the big one being Sharpshooter! Here we see the damage curve for a D8 weapon with Sharpshooter and no fighting style. Again, once archery is added on, you simply shift the line over 2. How does dueling hold up now? Not well. It underperforms archery at every armor class outside of AC 20 to 24. And at much of the armor class spectrum, dueling woefully underperforms the archery fighting style with as much as a 5 damage difference between the two. So what would it take for the archery fighting style plus Sharpshooter combo to be overtaken by the dueling fighting style? How much damage would we need to tack on to that +2? This would include things like smites, Hunter's Marks, Hex, feats like Gift of the Chromatic Dragon, certain magic weapons like a Flame Tongue, and plenty of others. Turns out that it would take an additional +3 damage on top of the +2 already given by dueling to pass archery and Sharpshooter at armor class 16 to 25 when the nat 20 start rolling in. A Hunter's Mark or Hex spell will provide a damage bump of 3.5 at the low end of the curve to a 0.25 increase at the high end. And if you wanted to be ahead of that combo, for every point on the AC curve, you need an additional +8 damage. A Flame Tongue won't even get you there, with an average bump of just 7 damage per hit, not attack. Okay, so what if we wanted to focus on our attack bonus with the dueling fighting style? What would it take to be on par with archery and Sharpshooter then? Again, right at armor class 16, dueling with a +3 to hit in addition to the base modifier will pass archery, and it will hold onto the lead all the way until armor class 28. And of course, adding to both the attack and damage bonus will close that gap even further. The obvious option there is to boost your attack modifier via an ASI while the archer is taking a feat. The feat is better, but the duelist won't be necessarily left in the dust. And DMs out there, if you have a one-handed melee combatant with the dueling fighting style and an archery Sharpshooter build in the same party, throw the duelist a bone and give them a +1 weapon first. Even that playing field.
Yes, thank you.
And now for the world where the -5 + 10 doesn't exist. At least as far as we know, a world not that far off, one D&D land. In that world, what does archery have to do to catch up to the dueling fighting style? Not much. Adding just a 1-point damage bump will take archery past dueling by AC 10, and only a 1-point increase to attacks will put archery in the lead at AC 15. What did we learn? Yes, dueling actually is the better fighting style in terms of damage between the two. As long as no outside increases to attacks or damage exist, which we know is not the case, in those situations, doesn't take much for archery to surpass dueling. But is that the entire story?
No, it is not.
Some other considerations that should be taken into account in no particular order of importance. Dueling allows for the use of a shield, increasing AC by 2, meaning a 10 percentage point decrease in the number of attacks that will land, significantly increasing survivability of the character. However, archery allows for the player to stay out of melee, which could equate to a much greater increase in the number of attacks that don't even happen because the player isn't engaged with an enemy. Unfortunately, the exact value here is impossible to predict. Finally, how easy is it to obtain damage bumps versus accuracy or 2-hit bumps? If your DM recognizes the lack of balance the Sharpshooter feat brings with it and decided to toss some magic weapons to the duelist, the playing field can be leveled fairly easily. Short of that, increasing damage seems to be easier via player choice. For example, spell selection, feat choice, subclass features, etc. Then straight attack bonuses with no additional damage bumps tied to the attack bonus. Leave some examples in the comments below. That's it for this one. See you here next time, folks.
Bye-bye.